Welcome, Mary and Nessa. I am so excited to have you join us. And this is just a thrill of mine to get to meet you, even through Zoom, and to talk with you because your books have fascinated me and always enjoy reading about what's going on in the food industry and how you're able to just do some deep dives into the truth about food. So I am so excited to welcome you here today.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yes, well, thank you. So let's just start with the lies of the food industry. So, what can you teach us about that? And how are we kind of being deceived in the grocery store?
Well, the deceptions and the lies come not because people in the food industry are necessarily evil. It's because they are adhering to the requirements of business in today's environment. Food companies are not social service agencies and they're not public health agencies. They're businesses. They have stockholders to please. Their stockholders expect immediate returns on investment and higher returns on investment every quarter. And that puts an enormous pressure on food companies because people can only eat so much, because there's twice as much food available in the food supply as the population needs. And that means the food industry is fighting to sell its products in an environment in which they're forced to grow their profits, and in which there's a lot of competition. So they look for ways to sell more food, and in doing that, they have created what I would call an eat more food environment, a food environment that encourages people to eat as much as possible of the most profitable products as often as possible, everywhere as possible, and as high a price as they can get away with.
It's all about profit. And I think a lot of people are have a misconception that they think the food industry is supposed to work for them, that they're supposed to protect them, and that everything is safe in the grocery store. And what would you say to that person who thinks that?
I would say once again, once you understand that these companies are businesses and their job is to maximize profits for their stockholders, they're going to look for ways to cut costs in every way they possibly can and to maximize profit in every way they can. That's the normal course of doing business. Sometimes that makes them cut corners on safety. And that's why we have so many recalls of food products. And in almost every case that's been investigated, somebody got sloppy. Food companies are required to produce food safely by Food and Drug Administration rules. But if they cut corners or don't take it seriously or don't create what is referred to as a culture of food safety, in which everybody who works in the company takes safety really seriously and does everything they can to prevent contamination of the food products, then they're going to have problems. And I've seen that over and over again where corners got cut, and people got sick as a result.
And I think if people who, families and young moms, as they go in the grocery store, if they would just look at the grocery aisles as, okay, this is a business, but I too am a business. My business is to provide for my family as best I can. So I need to see it as a business decision and not an emotional decision. And so I think that would help us just keep everything in balance and just how we process our purchases.
Well,
And
that
so
would be nice, except that food is really emotional.
it is. It is.
That you put in your body. It's really intimate and it's part of our culture. It's part of our family. It's part of really what makes us Americans and lots of other things. And it's very, very much as a symbol of our identity that makes it emotional. And you can, and food companies know this. And so the appeals in the grocery store are emotional appeals. Anytime you see a label that begins with the word no, that food product is being marketed to you as something that's safe and emotionally satisfying in lots of other ways. And it's very difficult to resist that. The way that I like to put it is if you are going to a grocery store trying to feed your family healthfully, you're fighting an entire food system on your own. You're taking on the entire food system, which is set up to get you to buy them as much as possible of the most profitable products as often as possible.
So I loved your first book, What to Eat. And you can even see I have all these tabs in it, marking my pages and things, quotes that I wanted to pull out and use when I'm speaking or when I'm writing. And I love the book. But now you have the new book, What to Eat Now. So I want to ask you, when you did the rewrite, which food surprised you the most because it had changed so much in really it's just a few years. I mean, it's been quite a few years, but it's just really a few years in time between your two books. What surprised you the most in the food?
What happened with drinks? 20 years ago, Coke and Pepsi filled up entire aisles of supermarkets. And at least in the ones that I see, that's not true anymore. Now it's bottled water. Um, and there's much to be said from the standpoint of health. But it came as a big surprise because bottled waters are unbelievably profitable. And tap water in many cities in the United States is really very good to drink. And they go to the people who control the tap water, go to an enormous amount of trouble to make sure that it's safe and pure. Um, and I went to a water treatment facility and checked that, and I was really impressed. And you can buy a gallon of tap water at some supermarkets that sell. You could fill up a jar of filtered tap water. They'll filter it for you for under $1. And I found bottled waters that cost $30 a gallon or more. That's a profit-making enterprise. And the way that the water companies do that is by putting things in the water that they think you're going to be willing to pay a lot of money for, like salt or or vitamins or nutraceuticals or herbs or protein these days. I mean, that's the weirdest one. Or cannabis or alcohol. It's pretty amazing.
It is. And yet you come down in your book and say, well, yet nothing hydrates better than water.
Water works really well.
Yeah, you explain all of these different drinks in the aisle, and I love how you compare it to the cost for a gallon, and yet nothing hydrates better than water. You can spend all this money, and nope, nothing hydrates better than water.
The water is boring, or if you don't trust it, you can buy bottled waters, but you're adding to environmental pollution by doing that. And also all of the bottled waters and are trying to get people to believe that they're safer and better than tap water, and that takes public trust away from the tap water and undermines public support for keeping that water clean and pure, which I think is really a shame because a lot of cities do it really well. Some cities don't, and it's very easy to find out which is which.
And then your book, even went into more research and noted that, okay, even waters that are being sold as a special, we'll say, breed of water, still, when you went to the website, it still came from tap water.
Oh yeah, they start with tap water, and sometimes all they do is filter it,
Yeah.
which you can do very easily.
Exactly. What would you say is one of the top 2 laws that are actually not working for us as a consumer very well?
I don't think the food safety laws are working nearly well enough. And it's not that we don't have adequate laws on the books. It's that there are complications with those laws. The splitting of foods between the Department of Agriculture and the FDA, for instance, where the Department of Agriculture does poultry, and meat and poultry, but the FDA does fish, and there are overlaps and really complicated differences. Really, those the laws have different rules about inspection and requirements for plants. And really, there have been attempts to consolidate those laws to make them consistent with one another for decades, and somehow Congress just doesn't budge on it. Too much lobbying.
So speaking to the consumer who's watching and even the young moms with her kids, How does she choose the best, let's just say the baby food in the baby food aisle? How does she choose the best baby food for her family? Now, I would want to encourage her to make her own, but we all know that moms are busy. What would you say to that mom as she's reaching for the baby food?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's very hard to make baby food. You just take what you're eating for dinner
Exactly.
and stick it in a small blender. It takes a second. Of course, you have to have a small blender. Um, the baby foods have improved a lot, even since I wrote the original book. The junk is out of them, the additives are out of them, the sugar and salt is out of them. They're kind of boring. Oh, one introduction is those pouches. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of pouches. I'm really not. I understand how convenient they are, how absolutely terrific it is for busy parents to just shove one of these things at their kid and let their kids self-feed. And it's not messy and it's not, it's not anything that they have to do. I understand all that. But it's so much better if kids feed themselves real food, chop up
Mhm.
what you're eating into little teeny pieces and let your kid make a mess. But it is a mess to clean up. And it's better for their hand-eye coordination, it's better for their taste preferences, it's better for their chewing ability. All that stuff that's in those pouches is too sweet. Even if they claim they don't add sugar, they're using concentrates that are essentially sugar.
Yeah.
Way,
So
way
true.
too much sugar. You don't wanna train your kid that the only food they can eat is something sweet, if you can avoid it.
What about grains? So we are a big family of people who mill their own grains and make their own bread and just trying to get that nutritional value that you get out of the whole grain and buying the grains and from very safe farmers. So what about the breads in the store aisle?
Well, they differ a lot. And in most supermarkets, you can get very, very good bread. Usually they buy it frozen for someplace and heat it up, but you can get real bread and almost artisanal bread in supermarkets, at least frozen. The commercial breads have a lot of preservatives and things in them that make it easier for the bread makers to make the bread faster. Bread is a very slow process because you've gotta wait for the yeast to do its thing. And so commercial bread makers speed up the process by using additives of one kind or another. That makes the breads ultra processed, um, and makes them less nutritious, but, how much less nutritious and whether this is really important is something that's a really highly debatable question. And if you're buying a whole grain commercial bread, I'm not gonna argue with that. I'm really not. And I have to say, there are reasons for eating white bread that's been milled, even though the nutritional quality is lower. They're delicious. They're really good. And there are reasons why white bread's been around for a long time. It's easier for people to digest. People like it better. The whole bread thing is really complicated nutritionally. You can get a lot of the nutrients that are in bread from other sources. But if you really, really like bread and eat a lot of it, the whole wheat is going to be a much better nutritional bet.
Yeah.
Fiber, if nothing else, fiber.
Right. And that would be a very key ingredient to make sure we get a lot of. And I was reading in your book about the dating of olive oil, which, I was aware of the dating, but then also recognizing in your book how you mentioned that, it's basically a 2-year lifespan. And so tell us about that.
Well, that's what the olive oil producers say. I mean, the problem with olive oil is that it's a living product. It is extracted, the best olive oils are pressed out of the olives. And they have to be bottled very, very quickly so they don't oxidize. And you want to buy olive oil in dark bottles so it's not exposed to air. You don't want to expose olive oil to air or light because olive oil is unsaturated and largely an unsaturated fat. It can be oxidized. And you don't want your oils oxidized. They don't taste as good. They're not as good for you. But it's quite possible to buy very good olive oils at not very much money in soup, although this was before inflation. But you can buy very good olive oils in supermarkets. And there was one that I talk about in the book where I really had fun with it because it said you could uh, look at its QR code and go to its site and find out exactly when it was bottled and find out when the olives were picked and when the oil was bottled and all of that kind of thing. And it was really fun to track that down. I had a very good time doing that, and I bought some. It's pretty good olive oil,
Yeah.
but the date on it was 2 years after the olives had been picked. And, I talked to people in the olive oil industry. They said, that's fine. It lasts that long.
Yeah, but definitely realizing there is a 2-year window to give you your best olive oil. That was good to learn from your book. There's some people out there that talk about the Doritos back in the 1990s versus the Doritos of today's world in 2026. Did you notice a difference as well as far as the different chemicals that are being used now to make even just a package like Doritos?
Well, under pressure from Robert F. Kennedy Jr., um, PepsiCo has decided that they're going to take the bad additives out of Doritos and use vegetable colors instead. I haven't tasted them. I don't know whether they taste any different.
Yeah.
I
I don't know either. It's just it's what a lot of people are out there saying. So I just thought it was
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
I'd really like, I haven't tried them yet. I mean, sorry, I'm failing in my research. The time that I turned in the manuscript of the book, those products were not available. Otherwise, I absolutely would have done that. But I never ate Doritos anyway.
Well, I have found that even with a minimum income, realize, well, if I just really just trust that I will find it, I usually always find a way to meet the budget and to extend the budget. It's also a matter of not going and buying everything that looks healthy at one time and then letting it rot in the refrigerator. I've totally done that too. Learning how to freeze and dehydrate has saved my budget really well.
Right. And I assume you know how to cook.
I do know how to cook. I did have to transfer from processed foods to eating real food so I can love my life better. Yeah, I love food. I love cooking. I love teaching cooking. I love every element of food that there is, which is why your books have always been an attraction to me. It's like, oh, this is teaching me even more about food, just the basics of what's behind the scene of the foods. And so that's what I really love about your books is that you can walk people through the grocery store, as you say, aisle by aisle in your first book and discover, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm not looking for. This is what is going to benefit me. And this is what's not going to benefit me. And you teach it really well in a way that everybody can read the book.
And it's not really a book about what to eat. It's a book about how to think about what to eat.
And that's what's missing is getting people to think about what they're eating because the marketing is for us not to think about what we're eating. It's the impulse, it's the grab and go, it's the, as you said, even just the push up yogurt. It's just what will appease the moment versus what's going to bring a bright future. And so, yes, we do need to think about what we're eating. We need to think about why we're choosing different foods, even if we can just train ourselves to think differently. I always say it's kind of like you gotta go through, grocery shopping boot camp. Learn how to shop the grocery store so that later you can do those quick grab and goes because you already are trained as to what to buy and what not to buy.
I like that boot camp. I think I'm going to steal that.
You go with it. You go with it. And yeah, and I just think there's a lot to be learned there. And then taking your family to the grocery store and teaching them. It used to be very simple to be able to read a label and compare price per ounce. Now they've kind of tricked up the labels a little bit. They don't make it an easy comparison, but yet you can still catch the numbers and you can still figure out, okay, this is my better buy. This is not my better buy. All right. Well, this has been really good. I appreciate your time with this. Is there anything else that you're like, oh, I really want those watching to know these top tips on how to shop the grocery store or how to understand food? What could you leave our audience with,
Oh,
something to chew on?
just that food is one of life's greatest pleasures. And you want it to give you pleasure. You don't want it to torture you. So
That's so
the
true.
more you know about it and the more you know how to put foods together and to make meals you like, the better it is. I want everybody to enjoy their dinner.
Well said. Well said. And I think that would solve a lot of digestion issues if they just enjoyed their dinner versus being upset about what may be there on the plate, what may not be there on the plate. So I think that's excellent. Well, I just want to share with everyone, please go check out Marion Nessel and her books. This is the latest one. She has a new one coming out about cereal, and I can't wait to read that and see what she's going to reveal about the cereal aisle that we don't yet know about. Thank you, Marion, for being a part of this today and just sharing with us your wisdom about food and what to eat and what not to eat. And just being there for us, being the advocate for us that we need, and helping to make a difference in the grocery store so that everyone who even doesn't know you is benefiting from your words of wisdom and also your research that you do to help all of us. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And can I add one thing? I write a daily blog at foodpolitics.com to which people can subscribe. It gets delivered to your email once a day, though. And I talk about these issues every week.
That's excellent. So go to foodpolitics.com and sign up for that, and definitely reading your blog about food. I will definitely check that out as well. So thank you so much for being a part of the Biblical Nutritionist family and letting us together share with everyone watching. Just food is meant to be fun. And so they can all enjoy their meal today. So thank you so much for being a part of this.
Oh, thanks for having me.